Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have another internal report coming from some Democrats saying and admitting that they are the clear underdogs. Now, there are multiple reasons they could be saying this. You could say, well, they're trying to motivate their base, get everyone out to vote. Republicans should be doing the same thing. But it is important to understand that this is pretty consistent with any report on internal data that we've heard from the Democrats. And another thing I thought I would talk about, when you look at the polls versus the betting, right now, Trump, I believe, is up around 50% to 47% over Kamala Harris in terms of overall betting to win the election. You could argue that, well, if you just look at the polls and take them for gospel, you could argue that Kamala Harris, based on her lead in Michigan, her very narrow, I mean, I'm not even sure she actually leads in a lot of these states. The states are so close, it's like point 0.5, point 0.6. But you could make the argument that maybe Harris is up based on betting. But the difference between the polls and the betting is the betting and the people realize, and even Democrats realize, that Trump significantly overperformed the polling in both 2016 and 2020. So if they're basically running dead even, the tiebreaker would probably be Donald Trump winning the election because he overperforms polls routinely, at least in the past two general elections. Now, you could say, well, the polls have changed. Now they're correctly polling Trump. Look at 2022. And of course, that's just pure cope. You're comparing a year where Donald Trump was not on the ballot versus an election year. It's completely different. If you want to compare Trump to previous years, it needs to be 2020 and 2016, not 2022. When you're talking about polling errors, Democrat or Republican. So that's why I think we're seeing kind of a difference between the betting, where people are starting to realize, hey, if it's really a tie race, or even if Harris is running 1 or 2 points ahead in terms of popular vote polling, that's really good news for Trump. And that signals that Trump is probably going to win the election. And you're starting to see models. I mean, I would certainly weigh a model with some type of, thing to where Trump is underrated in terms of the polling numbers. We've seen it in 2020 and 2016. There needs to be some weight to reflect that. And you're starting to see a lot of these models adjust and give Trump around a 65% chance to win, even though the Real Clear Politics polling average head to head, Trump versus Kamala, says Kamala is up by about 1.5, 1.6 in terms of the overall popular vote. Of course, that really doesn't matter because of the way the Electoral College works. If Trump loses the popular vote by about 1.5, I would say he's got about a 95 to a 99% chance to win. He could lose the popular vote by 2.5, 3 points and still have like a 70, 80, maybe even 90% chance to win. But Dems are admitting, they're saying we're the clear underdogs. It says that top Democrats are wary of the party's exuberance outrunning electoral reality in what is still a 50-50 nation. Harris entered the race in late July, and she saw record fundraising numbers. A lot of that's from the fake media hype, and the record fundraising numbers are also, a lot of the Democrats kept their money. They didn't give it to Biden, so they had more money to give to Harris. Remember, they stopped funding Biden for like 3 weeks. And then Axios comes out with an article and says she gets these record numbers. Well, of course she's going to get the record numbers. They withheld funds from Biden. That's been widely reported. But see, you're not going to hear that from this article. If you're just a casual person, you're going to say, "Wow, she's raising all this money." Yes, because they withheld money from Biden for 3 months. And so then she gets all the money. It's like, "Wow, she's got this record money." You're not getting the context of this. So you see even a sentence into it, you can already tell. But no, she's got record money. However, make no mistake, as we head into the final stretch of this race, they're saying that the Democrats are the underdogs. Donald Trump has a motivated base of support with more support and higher favorability than he had at any point since 2020. And yes, that is correct. His favorability is up significantly. If you look back at his past history in terms of favorability, he was up pretty high, or at least relative to where he normally is. He was up in late 2019, and then with the pandemic, he dropped because any president would drop. There's no right way to handle something like that, a once in a century thing like that, where you have to shut the economy down when you've got a great economy going. So it was tough, and his favorability tanked, and it probably lost him the election, along with the Hunter Biden big tech interference. With Zuckerberg has now admitted and said, yes, we cheated. Unfortunately, they told us to silence the story. they preemptively said that there's going to be disinformation on Biden family corruption and we bought into it and I'm sorry. And then Zuckerberg comes out and says, "Oh, I didn't know that my wife spent $400 million on the election and on getting Joe Biden elected." I don't even know what that is, but so we'll see what Zuckerberg ends up doing. But I did see that. I hadn't talked about that, so I thought I'd bring it up. We've got the debate coming. You can see in 9 days, Harris will face Trump on. Now it's 8 days. This article was yesterday, and so this is their campaign dressing everything up, trying to get people to go out and vote. But again, even the internal things. You talk to Jake Tapper. I mean, Jake Tapper is out here warning Democrats, saying, "Guys, I mean, I'm talking to the internal people. They're saying, look, the numbers are really not this good." So even their internal numbers, even their numbers that we see are not good. They're the rigged ABC poll that came out yesterday, and Axios did another article on it, talking about it and referencing it. It's the ridiculous poll that had Donald Trump approval rating minus 25, 33% approval, and 58% disapproval, and Waltz was like plus 12. Waltz is going around with ice cream. He's like sucking on an ice cream. So I mean, they got him like cantaloupe flavored ice cream, and so he sucks on it because remember Kamala Harris told him to suck on a cantaloupe, and so they got him this ice cream and he's sucking at it, and then people are trying to ask important questions. It's like Waltz is standing there and they're like, "Tim, please answer an important question," and he's like, "All right, guys, time to go. Sorry." And then you've got Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris has just been getting yelled at by her own campaign. Remember, it's been reported that Kamala Harris does not get along with her own team. She's had to fire many different staffers. She's bitched them out. She gets angry. She gets irritable. She was locking herself in her hotel room on Wednesday night prior to the DNC speech. She was probably so angry. And she gets off. She gets onto the plane. This was today. It's a clip. She's got earplugs in. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. I mean, she seems miserable right now, and her campaign is angry at her, I'm sure, based on what's happened, because she squandered this completely. And now she's got to try and pull something out of her ass. She's got to have a good debate. We know it's not going to happen. And even, I mean, Axios and top Democrats are saying these numbers are really not good. Both sides are trying to lower expectations. The Trump campaign correctly said that Harris would likely get a polling bounce after her. That's not correct. Not after the convention. Maybe after she was installed. I do remember the Trump campaign saying Harris was going to get a bump after she got installed as the candidate. She got no bump after the convention. The DNC you're talking about, I don't remember any Trump people saying she was going to get a bump after the DNC, and it never happened. I mean, they said it when she was installed, not for the convention. The convention was a failure. Remember, they had to lie and tell people that Taylor Swift was going to be there to get people to watch Kamala speak. That's how bad their convention was. Bottom line, okay, so this is all just fluff. But the overall point of it is, I mean, we've got several Democrats coming out. And think about, the numbers are already great for Trump, but it looks like they're even better internally. They're saying, we've got more accurate polls, and it's like Trump's up by like 5 or 6 in Pennsylvania. He's up by like 2 in Michigan. He's up by like 4 in Wisconsin. I mean, Trump's going to win Wisconsin. We know this. If Trump loses Wisconsin, remember the polls with Wisconsin, it had Biden up by 7 going into election night. That's a net average according to Real Clear Politics based on all the polls. It was Biden plus 7. He wins by 0.7, so Trump outperforms it by 6.5. Similar thing happened against Hillary in 2016. And so now in 2024, Trump against Harris is way more unlikable than Biden was in 2020. Biden had the Obama factor. Biden had all the experience. Harris was one of the worst VPs. She's been installed. Biden actually won a primary. He did debates. You're going to tell me that Trump is going to perform worse? The Rust Belt is the key. And I guess that's why they chose Waltz. Although, again, I think the whole Waltz thing was just the last second. They didn't even vet him. He was not one of the top 4 or 5 choices. They had to pick him because they didn't want Shapiro because he's Jewish. But the Rust Belt is the key. I cannot see her winning any Rust Belt state outside of maybe Michigan. But even Michigan, I think Trump's going to eke it out by about 1.5. When you talk about it, it's just so lopsided. You've got the average middle-class white worker in the Rust Belt. They're going to go so overwhelmingly for Trump. And that's why her campaign is coming out, and they've got to be ringing the alarm bells. I mean, this is We can do the fake facade. We can have the ABC News poll that, and liberals buy it. And oh my God, he's got negative 25% approval rating. And the top Democrats are like, listen, those polls are crap. We're losing. Now, obviously, they're going to say that to try and get more people to vote. We understand that. But still, this is a lot of people saying it within the Democratic Party, within these circles. Their internal numbers are worse and they're admitting it, and they're trying to tell people, no, you have to go vote. This is not looking good. And the Rust Belt is going to go to Trump. And so they're going to have to win Georgia again. They're going to have to win North Carolina. They're going to have to hang on to Virginia. They're going to have to win Arizona. They're going to have to win Nevada. And then, now they're getting so desperate. They're trying to say, well, maybe Ohio and Florida and Texas could be in play because they've gotten so desperate now and they need these states. It's just not going to happen. None of those states are in play. I think Florida goes to Trump by about 10 and a half points, according to polling data and recent internal metrics. I think Ohio goes to Trump by about 9.8. And then Texas, it's probably about 9.3, 9.5. And so that would be my prediction. Maybe about 8 on Texas, maybe a little bit lower because Trump only won Texas by like 6 against Biden in 2020. But this is not good news for the Democrats. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.